Good evening, this is Eric J. We will be discussing this evening the congressional hearing with the executives from the big pharma companies, as well as the market options and the real answer, which actually happens to rely on the U.S. government regulations. Don't forget, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out whenever I upload a new video. For those fans of Ron Paul, go ahead and check out his homeschool curriculum also below in the description box. Good evening. Now, as I said, we'll be discussing the Senate hearing with related to the big pharma company executives. Now, let's go into the core of this. The entire point of the hearing was related to why the big pharma companies charge so much for their drugs. Now, the question is so much as to why they charge so much, but why they are allowed to charge so much. And that is a problem not so much related to them being greedy, but out of exclusivity. Now, you may not have been aware of this, but the FDA exercised a form of regulatory limitations called exclusivity, and I'll be providing a link to the FDA website exactly to this. Now, what exactly is exclusivity? Exclusivity in this case is where the FDA will check out a brand name drug, and then they will, once they have completed testing to it, they will allow that drug to enter the market and then refuse any generics that might be able to compete with that drug to also enter the market. And that is all included with the link. Now, why would they do this? Now, the reasoning for this, supposedly, is to enable the drug companies to recoup their losses that they incurred when they were going through the research and development of these drugs, which is a little interesting because there's no other industry out there that requires governmental protections to ensure that they recoup their costs. With the FDA refusing to allow generics upwards of 7 years depending on the drug, it is enabling a purely protected market for those particular drug companies that happen to put out that go through the process and put out their drug. And what this is that it becomes a net negative to the marketplace because there's zero competition. And this is, like I said, government protected. This level of lack of competition then enables the drug companies to price their drugs to basically whatever they want. There's no limitation on it, and because it's government protected, there is no requirements, there's no ability for any other competitors to enter into the market. I think that creates the market situation where you have essentially forced limited supply, extremely high demand, and then that equation just then relates out to very high prices. So whenever the senators are asking why these companies charge so much, I ask them why they allow the FDA to enable the protection of these companies through their regulations. Now, the FDA itself is actually a branch of the executive, and through the laws which enabled these regulatory agencies to exude this level of power, Congress is also at fault for enabling this, because they gave the FDA so much power over drugs entering into the market. So long as the drug companies are permitted this level of basically monopoly on the drug industry, they will be able to continue to price out any competitors and charge whatever they want. And yes, they'll get some negative publicity about it, but for them that doesn't matter. All they care about at that point is the ability to charge what they can to their consumer, with the complete knowledge that the consumer will have to pay it. And in a lot of cases, those prices are being subsidized because they're being bought en masse by different, say, county health agencies to be able to offset the costs so that it's cheaper for the consumer base. There's a link to the Tom Woods Liberty Classroom, where you can really expand your knowledge of free market economics, which is the same school of thought that Milton Friedman as well as Murray Rothbard really championed. As far as this Senate hearing, yes, it was honestly, the direction was pointed at the wrong people. It shouldn't have been devoted towards the big pharma companies, but really the government exclusivity that was enabled to the big pharma companies through the FDA, protecting those specific drugs from any kind of market competition.